Welcome back everyone. At this stage we will update the client's details info. So let's get started. The work we have completed so far is user registration, login logout, list view and its details showing, inserting new records and deleting records. So now all that is left is to update the records. So let's go back to the code editor. As usual, we will start working from the urls.py file. I am copying the URL that I defined to delete and pasting it here on the last line. Okay, let's change the text delete to update. Note here, since I will be updating the record, I need the client ID, so like the delete feature, I am passing the ID for the update as well. So now let's change delete to update for views as well. I also change the name in the same way. Now let's define a function called client_update in the views file. So define client_update and give the request parameters inside parentheses as usual. For convenience, let's copy some code from the delete function. Because there are some things that are similar to updating. I'll explain the reason for this later. I said earlier that we need the client ID to update and the user must be authenticated to update, so I have copied some of the delete code here. I hope the reason for the copy is now clear to all of you. Now, once the user is authenticated, the user needs to be given access to the update page, so here we are redirecting to the client update.html page. Now let's add an else statement, because if the user is not authenticated, we should give the user a message and redirect to the home page. Right? In this case, I am giving the message you have to log in. Then redirect the user to the home page. Now we need to implement some logic if the user is authenticated. We first need to get the ID of the record we want to update, right? So I'm creating a reference called current_record where we'll get the ID of the selected client. We will do the same thing here as we did to get the ID for deletion. So let's retrieve the client ID in the same way. So type client.objects.get then put ID equals pk inside the parentheses. For the update, we will use the same form we used to save it. So let's copy this and paste it for the update function. To update here, all the properties of this form will remain the same, like adding a record. I'll just add one additional property, which is instance. Its main function is that when we update the data of a specific client, it will fill the form with the data of that selected client. So write instance equals current_record. Notice here that like data insert, we have used request.post or none. You already know its functionality, but I'm saying it again, it basically requires that the form is filled or the form will be filled or it is empty. If the form is filled, it will start storing the form data in the database. So, to check the post method like client add, we need an if statement. That's why I pasted this if statement here. Now we need another if statement to validate the form. So, type if space form dot is underscore valid. Now let's create an object reference called update_client and call the save method. So type form.save. After the save is successful, let's show a message to the user. In this case I am giving a message like client info updated. So type client info updated with the request inside the parentheses. Now let's redirect the user to the home page. So inside the parentheses write return redirect and inside the quotation marks write home. Now pass the form as a parameter in the return render statement, like add client. So let's copy this form from the add client function. And paste it here. Now let's create an HTML file called client_update in the template folder. Now let's copy the entire code from the add client HTML file. In fact, both record addition and record update require almost the same work. We don't need the action property here, so let's delete it. Like this record add, we will also use the form.as_Django tag to update the record. Let's change the button text from save to update. Now we have one more task left, that is, since we want to update from the client details page, let's add a button for update on the details page. I am copying the code of the delete button here because like delete, you also need to pass the client ID for updating. You already know this, right? So, paste the copied code right after the delete button. And change the text delete to update. You probably remember that we defined a URL in the URLs file to update the client. So let's copy client_update and paste it here. And here I am passing the client's ID. So let's do a brief summary. When the user clicks on the update button from the details page, it will populate the update form with the details of that selected client on the details page according to that client's ID. And after updating the client's info, when the user clicks the update button, the data will be updated using the Django form tag through the update function defined in the views file, through the form post. Here you see the Django form tag defined after the token tag, and as you already know, I have used the client add form here. In fact, data transactions are made from the HTML page to the views update function through this Django form tag. This is actually a good feature of Django. It saves a lot of work. Here you see how the client ID is being passed from the details page and which is calling the views function defined in the URLs file with the client ID. I hope you all understand the matter. If you still have any questions, you can ask me through the comments below. Now let's save the files and see our output. Before looking at the output, let's terminate our server and run it again. Although it's not necessary, it's good practice to reload the server after making any major changes. Okay, our server is running. Now let's look at our output. Reload the browser first. Click on any client's name from the client list to view their details on the details page. Look here, our update button has been shown. By clicking on the update button, you will see that the client's details info is being shown in the update form. Let's update the data in the address field. Then click the update button to update the data. Great, the data has been updated. You see the success message above. Let's take a look at the update on the details page again. Here you see the update. Now let's add a new client by clicking the Add New button. Here I am writing my full name Tanvir Rahman. I am entering my personal email address here. Just enter a random phone number. It's not actually a valid phone number. I'm giving you a random address in the same way. Entering the city, state, and zip code. And click the Save button to save. Okay, we have successfully added a new client. And look, its ID is 13. So let's look at the details of this client. Take note of this address here. Let's do some updates to this client now. In this case, let's update the name of this client. Then hit the update button. It has been successfully updated and you see that its ID is remained same, which is 13. We should change the color of the update button. Go to the client page. And change the danger text to secondary. Let's go to the browser and see the change. Just reload the browser. Look, the color of the update button has changed. It looks quite appropriate now. Now let's do the final check. In this case, I will update the last updated record. Here I am just updating the name and address. Click Update button to update. Okay, I see the client for ID 13 has been updated. Okay. Now let's check the authentication. To do that, just copy this link. And now I'm logging out. Now let's enter that copied link into the browser's address bar and hit enter to access the details of the client with ID number 13. You see, we can see the message you have to log in. Okay, so we've almost completed the project. We registered users, added new clients, showed client lists, updated client records, and updated records. Now let's push the work we've completed so far to the GitHub repository. In fact, this CRUD operation is applicable to almost all types of websites, be it a business application or a dynamic website or a social networking site like Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. No matter what you say, this CRUD operation is performed. We will develop features for searching operations, PDF and Excel report generation in the next tutorial. And finally we will Dockerize this project. Okay, our project has been pushed to the repository. Now let's check the GitHub repository to see if our project has been successfully pushed or not. You see, the message that was commented on when I just pushed to Git is showing here. You can find the full project in this Git repository. I have given the Git link of this repository in the description box. So that's it for today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe. Because more real-life project tutorials on machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis, and data engineering are coming very soon. Thank you for now, see you in our next tutorial.